Alright, what's going on everybody, man? Welcome to Art Geeks. This is a new thing we're trying out where each time I do a new painting, I'm gonna be recording one of these and just kind of showing you the process of how I painted it and what I was thinking about. So in this video, I'm gonna talk about how I painted this painting. I'm gonna show you the reference, the sketch, and the whole process of painting the colors. And I would love if you guys ask me some questions in the comments so I know what you're interested in and what you're struggling with, so I know what to talk about in upcoming episodes. So I haven't really done any personal art in a while, and it was really hard for me to get started. So what I did is I got on good old Pinterest and I started searching some references and looking for inspiration, and I created this pure ref of all of the references that I was inspired by, I wanted to paint. And usually when searching for references, I don't really type anything in Pinterest. People often ask me like, Angel, what do you write in Pinterest to find these good looking references? Honestly, I don't type anything. What I do is I'm just scrolling, I'm looking at good looking shit, and I'm opening it, and then I'm scrolling down, and I keep on clicking and clicking and clicking until I find some better stuff. So in this process of me just searching Pinterest over and over again, I end up with just hundreds and hundreds of tabs, and I'm opening up so many references and I'm looking at so many references. If I like something, I just save it in my pure ref. If you don't have pure ref already, you can go to pureref.com and download it for free. It's a really useful tool. Now, one of the most important tips I can give you for Pinterest is not clicking on anything that you don't like. And the reason for that is because the whole algorithm of Pinterest is so powerful that if you start clicking on some random shit, it's gonna give you some random shit. So the rule in Pinterest is you only click on some shit that you really like. Oh look, this is actually the model that I painted from the same reference shot but in a slightly different angle. God damn, this shit's sexy as fuck. And here's actually the reference that I painted. So that's literally how I found it, is I would just end up clicking and just saving all the references that I like. Now, if you want me to do any more in-depth tutorial about how to search references, or you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. I definitely want to talk about it. Now, before getting to the actual painting, I really wanted to do just some sketching first in order to try out some different ideas and see which one I like the best, so I know which one I need to finish. So what I did is I started really just grouping the references that I like and just thinking about, okay, this is the reference that I like, and here's some other references that I can actually use for inspiration. The first one that I really liked was this one with her poking her eye out, and I really liked the reference, but I feel like the colors were a little boring, so I was just looking for a color scheme. And I've also made this board in this app called Miro, where I save all of the dope artworks of my favorite artists. So you see in here, there's a lot of different paintings, and you can see the artist in here and then the artworks that I love from him below. So anytime I want to really just check out this artist, I just click this and it really takes me to their Instagram. And I would love to share this as well, so if you want it, let me know in the comments. I would love to share anything that I use. And what I also have on this board is some references from some AI art. I know this is a very controversial topic, you know, I'm not really using that much AI myself, but honestly, I feel like there's a lot of potential in some of these paintings, so I just love using them as an inspiration. And I just found these dope pieces in here, and I really love the colors, so I was like, okay, I think this is really going to fit with this reference in here. So what I did is I started just posting them on the side and thinking about a little color palette that I can use. And then I also wanted to see the post better, so what I did is I took a little picture of myself and I just ended up with this little color mode for this painting in here. And I feel like I ended up talking way too much about this when the whole episode is not even about her, but this is sort of the process that I use for different references. I would find the main reference and then I would think about, oh, okay, like what other references do I want to do, like what style, what colors, and then I just got to some sketching. So I did this sketching here, and I also like to do just kind of like this color sketches as well, where I will just kind of lay out all the colors so I can get the mood and the vibe of the whole piece and see whether I would like to even finish it. So I did a couple of those sketches. I did this one in here. I did this one, although I didn't really think about the colors that much because honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the sketch, and I'm really inspired by all of this fisheye lens nowadays, so I purposely just started looking for references with fisheye lens. I even made a folder on my computer in my references called fisheye, and I just started like saving all the fisheye lens that I kind of found. So I did another sketch of a fisheye lens in here, and I did another one in here. This one of my favorite, and I really want to finish this, so maybe in the next episode I'm gonna talk more about this painting. And I also did this sort of a mirror sketch with this reference in here, and I'm kind of imagining her whole face just kind of being like demonish and stuff, but I haven't really gotten to it yet. Anyway, this was my whole journey of how I just kind of got to this reference. Now, as it always happens, I ended up actually losing the file of the color sketch of this reference, so I can't show it to you, but I can show you the full process of the whole painting because I have it saved. So this is how the sketch is looking for this piece, and you know, it's a little bit messy, you know, these days. I don't really rely that much on the sketch. I sometimes even just delete it and I rely on the painting itself, but I love doing the sketches just to kind of figure out the perspective and figure out all the shapes first. Now, what I've done is I've recorded my full process as a video, and it's actually like a 4-hour plus video, so I don't know if it would be really that useful to kind of see that, but if you want me to share it, I can maybe start sharing them in the future as unlisted videos. Again, let me know in the comments. But what I really started is I would just start with a face, and I'll start moving things and really just trying to figure out the design of the face first. Now, normally I don't really recommend this type of things to beginners because it's really important to figure out how the whole piece works and really think about the structure about the whole painting. But for me, I feel a little cocky. I feel like I can just kind of start the painting from anywhere, so I like to just figure out the design of the face until I feel like there's that face I want to paint, and then I do the actual figure. And then after the sketch, I really start figuring out all of the colors of the reference by actually starting from the background. So I actually lower the opacity of the whole sketch, and I start doing gradients just to start figuring out the color palette that I want to work with. And I really love all the colors of the reference, and honestly, it's so rare to actually find a reference that looks good with the whole design in the pose, and then it also looks good with the colors. So I felt extremely lucky with this reference to actually have both of them. And then after the background, I really just paint all of the black for her hair and her costume. So I really do what's called the local color of the hair and the costume. And then from there, I really do the local color of the face, and I start thinking about the actual lighting of the face. So there's this blue light coming from one side, and then there's this yellow side coming from the other, and I really paint them while also thinking about the planes of the face. And I also really love this sort of an abstract background that we see in the reference, so I wanted to just kind of lay in some different sort of squares and different abstract shapes. And at this point, now that I kind of like the colors, I'm making sure that I really refine everything, and I kind of start doing everything much more cleanly. So first, I like to just do it a bit more messy so I can see how the colors are working together, and I'd be like, yes, those are the fucking colors. And then I really start over by painting very closely the actual lights and thinking about the shapes that I'm creating. So you see me right now, I'm just using only one type of a blue in order to really figure out the lighting. Now, usually with paintings, I like to actually start by painting the shadows because they really give so much more form to the painting. But in references where there's multiple light sources and the lights are more important, I actually like to start with them. So you see me in here, I'm still kind of just refining that first light source because it's gonna be so important to kind of just make the face feel very three-dimensional. I also like to play around with the hue and saturation of the colors and really edit it until I get the exact color that I like. Even though up until now I've only painted with one single color, in the future I'm gonna get to build up that color and actually add multiple colors on top of that. So that initial color that I start with is really important because it's kind of like the foundation of a building that I'm gonna build. And once I'm happy with that, I really start with the other light source, which is sort of this orange coming from the other side of the portrait. I then start to really draw the darkness from the eyelashes and the eyebrows. And again, this is really unusual for me because these are usually the things that I start with and then I add the light. But again, for this piece, I was so drawn to the light, I was just like, bro, I gotta paint that. And then what I do afterwards is I actually go on the layers below the lights and I start really thinking about the actual shadow. And it's kind of tricky because this reference doesn't really have any very clear shadows. It just really has more of these midtones that are giving volume to the whole piece. And I feel like midtones are the biggest things that beginners actually struggle with because they're so subtle and they're so easy to mess around, which is really why I usually start with either the shadow and the light and then I do the midtones afterwards. And now that I figured out the face, I start thinking about the lighting that's gonna be on the actual clothes. So I'm really creating these shapes that are gonna be going around the body and really defining it, like the titties. Remember, titties are important, kids. Now, after that, I started doing what I was dreading from the goddamn beginning. And I got a lot of compliments from people online about, oh my god, these chains be insane, but I can't describe how insecure I was while painting them. I felt like it'll be really impossible, and you see me right now just playing around with this chain brush for like 30-40 minutes, just playing around with the perspective and being like, I can't with these chains, bro. But after quitting a couple of times, you know, I got back to it. I calmed myself down. I'm like, chains, I can fucking do this shit. So I just got that initial shape from this chain brush that I have, and you can download all my brushes for free. I'm gonna include a link down below. And I'm really just trying to figure out the main shape of the chains without really thinking about the lights or the shadows of the chains. And this really goes for a while. I mean, up to this point, the whole painting has kind of taken me maybe like an hour, and then these fucking chains, just the shapes, probably take like 1 to 2 more hours. In the meantime, I also painted some more blue light actually on the clothes and on the hair, and then I just got back to the chains. So with the chains, it was really important for me to really figure out the light shapes first. So you see me right now, again, just painting only with one blue and one yellow, just figuring out shapes. So if I don't have sexy shapes initially, I can't really move on to paint because I'm not really confident about what I'm painting. So I want to figure out the actual shapes first because those are really going to be what I'm gonna build all of the shading afterward. Now I know that in the reference, her forehead chain is actually like a completely different chain, and I swear I tried to paint that. I don't know if there's a recording of it, and I failed so miserably. I was like, fuck this. That's why if you look at the final, like, this front chain is so detailed, and then if you look at this one on the forehead, it just literally has no detail, because by then I was just like, bro, I was just so done with these chains. I can't do anymore. And once I was sort of happy with the chains, I kind of just go back to the face and I start adding some more depth by adding some deeper midtones and deeper shadows and really just starting to render the face. Again, it's a little hard for me to know what type of questions you guys have and what you want me to really talk about. So whatever you want me to talk about more, just mention it below. And I actually lost the color sketch, but you can see it right here in the video. So this is how the color sketch was looking, and then this is how it was looking after I kind of established all the shadows and everything that I was talking about. And after I was kind of done with the face, which was the easy part, you know what time it was. Fucking chains, baby. Oh, wait a minute. I actually found it. Here's where I was actually struggling with that top chain. I literally just googled golden chain and I just made it into this brown color, and then I was just trying to wrap it around the head because I really just wanted the shape of it. I didn't care about the details because I could paint the details, but then every time I would actually try to come up with the shape, it just looked so weird. It felt like she had some weird macaroni thing happening on her forehead, and I was like, ah, hell nah, man. I'm just gonna stay with the basic chain. And then for the background, I really have this brush that you can find in my brushes that I love, which kind of gives you these squares, and I just painted these abstract squares, and I try to really follow the perspective of sort of this fisheye lens in the background. So it really feels like there's just kind of like following all of these lines that we're seeing in the reference, but these squares can't really be found in the reference. And then I just kind of paint this color variation and make it feel like there's actually multiple colors there. And it's so funny because there's so much twitching in all this. Like, you actually see me twitch for 30 minutes, like all of these different areas of the background. And at the end, it ends up feeling so simple, but I've literally spent so much time just trying to do something simple. And then from here, there's just like another sort of an hour of me just kind of zooming in and doing some small details, stuff that not really anybody's gonna notice, but my perfectionistic fucking head notices, and he's like, bro, that one pixel, you see it? Nah. So this is where I waste like literally 80% of my time, but it only works because I have all of the structure and everything else built before that. I don't know if I have the rest of the footage for the chains, but after I have those lights, it was actually much easier because all I had to do is just paint some more shapes for the shadow. And if we actually look at the final, you can see how clear those shapes are. So these ones with the orange and the blue is what I started with, and then you see like the actual shadow shapes that are giving the depth of the chain. But really, it was just this basic brush that I started with, and then I actually would use the transform tool to figure out the perspective by holding down control. I would kind of refine the whole shape and then just paint the lights, the shadows, the little highlights, and you kind of ready. And that's literally how I painted this masterpiece. No, if it's actually a masterpiece. So yeah, this is it for the first episode of Art Geeks. Again, I'm not really really sure what I want to do for the future about this, I want you to tell me in the comments so I know what you're really looking for so I can talk about it. I got a lot of sketches that I want to really finish, so I'm gonna be posting more of this. And if you're interested in some deeper tutorials, you can actually go to our website dothewarriors.com and sign up. We have a whole free course talking about kind of like the whole art journey, and we also have a whole academy where we have multiple courses inside with hundreds of hours of tutorials and me painting real time and references and all that. So if you're interested, you can find it at dothewarriors.com. So this is it for today. I love you, and I'll see you next time, baby.